Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be talking about what it means to have your sun in Virgo or your sun in the 6th house. My name is Brandon. I do astrology videos here on YouTube, and this video is part of a larger series that I am doing where I'm going through every single planet and every single house. I have already done everything prior to this, so Leo, 5th house, Cancer, 4th house, Gemini, 3rd, so on and so forth, all the way between Aries and Leo is already finished. So that playlist is down below if you're interested in any of those, or if you have any of those placements, feel free to check out that playlist down below. But this series is specifically for any Virgo placements or any 6th house placements. So this is going to be really fun. There's a lot of different things we're going to be talking about throughout the course of this series here, starting with the sun, obviously. So in the bottom below here, you're going to see timestamps when I talk about what. So we're going to talk a little bit about the sun beforehand, and then we're going to talk about what it means to the sun in Virgo specifically, and then what it means to the sun in the 6th house. So there's so many different things to talk about here. I'm really excited to start this series off. Virgo season is such a fun season for me, and I think it's going to be so fun to go through this series as it has been with all the other series that I have been doing. There's been an overarching theme between all of them, and I am very grateful to be able to do this here today. If you have your sun in Virgo or your sun in the 6th house, stay tuned, and also of course check down below. And of course, since this is a YouTube video, you know, YouTube algorithm, like, comment, share, subscribe, all those things are going to help me out, because this is what I do for a full time, and I love what I do. So if you're interested in any readings with me or any other questions with me, feel free to comment down below or reach out to me on my socials down below as well. So without further ado, let's just kind of start right off the bat with just in general what the sun means within astrology. Okay, so when it comes to the sun in astrology, a lot of us are conditioned to understand specifically what our sun sign is. So if you know your sun in Virgo, you're going to know what this video is. You really know exactly what your identity is. A lot of the sun sign astrology is a lot of what's out there. And the thing about sun sign astrology, and this video is specifically for the suns, there's a lot of things we are going to talk about here. But it is pretty common out there, right? The sun sign is the most common one that we are aware of, that we know of, and so it is something that we tend to just kind of understand and go right towards, just kind of focusing on that, right? Without the full awareness of the fact that you may have, you know, your moon in a very different part of the chart. You have your Mercury, your Venus, your Mars, all these different things that don't necessarily have to also be in Virgo with the sun. It's not super common to have way more than, you know, even Mercury, Venus, and sometimes Mars, and sometimes, you know, other planets can be in that specific area of the sky, but having all 7 of the traditional planets in that is kind of rare. So it is common for you to have something outside of your sun sign being in Virgo. And then of course there's the rising sign, which I don't really go into in this series here, but it is something that is really important, and it's what dictates the houses, right? And that's where I talk about with the 6th house, you know, 5th house, things like that. They're all kind of delineated from this space of the rising sign being the most important. And when it comes to the sun's placement, both by constellation, like sign as well as house, are going to have different effects on the native. So depending upon where the sun sits and what sign it's in, it's going to shine those areas a little bit brighter, right? So depending upon the sign, like if it were to be in, you know, Leo, which is where it's really comfortable, I just did a video on those ones, you know, or were to be in Aquarius, where it's not as comfortable. The sun and the identity and how the person comes up and shows themselves is going to vary depending upon that sign, right? And the Virgo sun sign has its own importance and its own sort of story that the sun is kind of illuminating, because the sun brings light to that area, which is Virgo in this example, or the 6th house. And so the area of life and the constellation or the sign that the sun is in when you were born speaks to kind of how you see things, what you see what you see your life through, how you see yourself, how you want to be seen. A lot of those things are kind of brought up with the sun sign, especially the sun in various houses. We're going to get into that as well once we go into the sun in the 6th. But this specifically is also about the sun in signs as well. The sun naturally, like I said earlier, it rules Leo, so it does not function that well in Aquarius. And it's considered to be exalted in Aries, and therefore considered to be fallen in the sign opposite of that in Libra. And so there is some importance to understand about the sun, as it focuses around our ego, our identity, how we want to show up, what we want to show up, what we want to bring light to, what we want to see ourselves as, and how we see ourselves. So that's kind of the sun sign there, just in basics. I don't really go this much in detail, but I had to for the Virgo video, I guess. But we are gonna start off right off the bat with actually sun in Virgo. So I'll see you guys in the next part. We talk about what it means to have your sun sun in Virgo. Okay, so we have the sun in Virgo. So this is a quite unique sun sign here, because what's interesting about it, the last time we had a mutable sun sign was actually Gemini, which is going to be another mercurial sign. So that's the thing about the mutable signs that is very interesting. Mutable signs being Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces, is they are all ruled by either Mercury or Jupiter. And Mercury and Jupiter both have these ideas related to their own internal kind of perspective, their own way to see things, their own mindset, opinions, their own learning process, their own thought process, speaking patterns, language patterns, their own stuff. That's very like mercurial. It's very subjective. And then when we go to Jupiter, being Pisces and Sagittarius, we're going to see the opposite end of that, which is very objective, which is very bigger truths, very philosophical, very much, going and searching for meaning beyond the smaller conversations, right? Not to say that there isn't meaning in smaller conversations, as we'll see as we go through more of these Virgo videos here. But it is something that there is a lot of interesting stuff, because Mercury and Jupiter are kind of this this divide here when it comes to mutability, and it speaks to the way that our mind really wants to find ways to cope and ways to go through things. And that's something I find really interesting about the mutable signs, is a lot of it is about them coping and learning how to adapt, because that is what those signs are all about. They're that sign in between seasons, so they're meant to be adaptable in some way, shape, or form. And the adaptability comes with both Mercury and Jupiter kind of bending their perspectives to reach whatever the next goal is, right? Whatever the next cardinal sign may be, and make that new switch, right? So I wanted to say that before I got into specifically what Virgo means with the sun sign here, but it is something that I think is really important to bring up when it comes to this, because there's so much adaptability and so much importance on that when it comes to all mutable signs. And so the sun in Virgo is no different than any other mutable sign in that regard. Now, Sun Virgo can be a little different when it comes to Gemini, the other mercurial sign, because the difference between Gemini and Virgo, Gemini is the diurnal or daytime expression of Mercury, and then Virgo is the nocturnal or nighttime expression of Mercury. And if Mercury is related to our mind, our opinions, our thoughts, how we understand the world, how we conceptualize the world, when it comes to the dichotomy between the daytime version of that and the nighttime version of that. The daytime version of that is when we go out and we're doing our plans, we're doing our errands, we're talking to people, we're doing all this stuff. But the nighttime version of that is very introspective. It's very critical. It's very much trying to perfect the next day or the next thing and trying to plan for the future. That's a lot of why Virgo placements get a lot of anxiety, because of the fact that they are ruled by a mercurial mind that is very inward and introspective, and very much just critical, and also able to really find ways to fine-tune and improve upon whatever is being presented to them, right? And the thing about Virgo that's really interesting too, and this is also similar to the sixth house, but way more Virgo than anything else, it's the sign between Leo and Libra. And I find the Virgo archetype to be so fascinating. I myself have a Virgo placement, and it is so fascinating to me because of the idea of it being between that natural evolution between Leo and Libra, which is where we go from who are we, what are our own specific goals and identities and what we identify as, and our creative pursuits and our egotistical creative desires and things like that, and then Libra, which is the other person, and bringing someone else into that equation. And so having Virgo placements or sixth house placements, but more so Virgo than anything else, kind of lends to that anxiety of trying to figure out the place between who am I, what do I bring to the table, what is my light, and then also who am I presenting that to, why am I presenting that to that person. And so I think it's really interesting when we think about Virgo as it relates to that that kind of shift between the individual being Leo and the partner being Libra. And I think that also may be why Virgo placements tend to have a little bit more anxiety, because of that kind of back and forth, especially with the sun, because the sun rules Leo, and so it's in that kind of in between right after Leo, so it can still kind of understand those things, but it's still having to understand how to work with, or how to understand and look towards the other and what they could anticipate from that person. And I think that's where, once again, anxiety and overwhelm can kind of come in, because they're trying to figure out how they fit in right, how they don't fit in right, those sorts of things. Now, the Sun in Virgo does have a very interesting connection also with healing and healers and anyone that works within service industry. So a lot of the time when it comes to Virgo suns, I tend to see a lot of them working in nursing or working in any caretaking sort of role, restaurants, anything that is of service. That is a lot of what Virgo rules. It's that physical service. It's the ability to do what you want to do, to go after what you want to go after, but in a way that is goal-oriented and is helping others, right? It's very service-oriented. It's very much the act of service, because it's a earth sign, and it is wanting to bring something into reality, and it's wanting to utilize its own energy to really create a strong foundation to build upon, because they're looking towards their goals. They're looking towards what they want to go towards in the future, being, inevitably the Capricorn of it all, right? The next earth sign after this. And so the thing that I find really interesting about Virgo is that there is this natural desire for them to heal and heal themselves. And so we'll see the Virgo and sixth house archetype as we go through this week here be really brought up about, health, routine, perfecting one's day, perfecting one's story, understanding one's story, and being able to really kind of fine tune that and plan for the inevitability of whatever it is they're planning for, whether it's to their benefit or to their detriment, right? And so the Sun in Virgo has a very interesting identity around that process of really improving upon themselves, really trying to find the right goals, trying to do all these things. So you can see a lot of Sun Virgos that are great organizers of a lot of information, great healers, great medicine people, people that are great at just logistical things, because of the fact they're so mercurial and they're so quick on understanding and inputting information. And with this as well, you're going to want to look to see what your Mercury placement is. So your Mercury placement's either going to be in Leo, Virgo, or Libra. So that is simply because Mercury can only go within one sign of the sun. And so it is important to look at your Mercury sign to see what else is kind of going on within the chart about how you're inputting and outputting information, because the Virgo sun definitely needs to understand the power of their own analysis and analytical ability and how they can use that to their benefit. And it's very much someone who is very similar to the Sun in Gemini, where they are wanting to be known for their mind, but it's not in the same way as Gemini is, because Gemini wants to be the one that is gathering all the information and gathering all the stuff. And I'm not saying that Gemini placements don't have a practicality or they don't tend to use their information. They can, they definitely can, but with Virgo, I find that there's much more application behind what they're doing, information-wise. So these are why you see Virgos that are really great surgeons and doctors and, healers and people that are looking for the answers. They're looking for the answers that are practical, that are grounded in reality, and aren't necessarily just looking to have another talking point or to, share that information with someone else, which is also extremely valuable as well. There is value in that. And I don't want to bash on Gemini at all. And so there is a lot of importance to understanding the power of their mind as it can be applied in both areas, both, verbally, expressively, creatively, as well as, internally in their own process of self-analysis and improvement upon their own day-to-day. So that's something that I think just the Sun in Virgo really needs to understand. Also, of course, look to see what your aspects are with your Sun in the sign of Virgo. If it's, with Saturn, it's going to be very different, or if it's with Pluto or Neptune or Mars or anything like that, it's going to definitely flavor the layers beyond this identity. The Sun Virgo also has an interesting story pertaining to the father, which the father typically for Sun Virgos I see as someone who can instill a pretty good work ethic in them, but also could be some sort of burden to them. And this also is something you'll see with the Sun in the sixth house too, where there's this kind of like burden of debt. And I think the Sun Virgo kind of and sixth house Sun has a a really deep desire to be of service, to pay off their debts, to work while they're here, right? That's kind of what Virgo is all about, is about working and providing something of immense value in a very tangible, real world sort of way. And I think it's really, really powerful and potent to see. There's so much power in a Virgo placement because of their analytical ability and their ability to see what the facts are, how to kind of put them together in some sort of cohesive sort of argument or cohesive, sort of plan. And so I think there's a lot of power with your sun in Virgo to look at your identity and see it and compartmentalize of yourself and see how it can be improved upon. And once again, don't be too hard on yourself, because I think Sun Virgo and Sun Capricorn, as well as other sun signs, definitely have a really big difficulty on that, where they really struggle with really perfecting their identity, perfecting what they want to do, and they're really hard on themselves. So it's very important for the Sun Virgos to understand that there is meaning behind why they're having that critical nature about themselves, and to have some sense of faith and kind of live by that Pisces side of stuff, which is very much just this, not necessarily the living the day-to-day and the monotony, which is very Virgo, but it's the opposite of that, which is, living in spirit, living in a sense of not necessarily chaos, but in a sense of trust and faith, and not needing to control and contain every moment and everything, and be able to work towards those goals. So I think it's really powerful to think about what Virgo can really do when they put their mind and focus on what they really want to get done. So that's the sun in Virgo. We're going to move on and talk about specifically what it means to have your sun in the 6th house. Okay, so we have the sun in the 6th house. So this is my first 6th house video here, and the 6th house gets a lot of trash talking about it. Honestly, it's one of the houses that in traditional astrology is considered to be a malefic or a difficult house, and the reasoning for that is because it's not easily seen by the 1st house. So the 1st house being in an angle, the 6th house and the 8th house and the 12th house are not really able to really be seen necessarily by the 1st house. And so these houses have been connected with things like disease and death and incarceration and a lot of really heavy, difficult things. And so I want to kind of dispel that, and I'm probably going to have to dispel that in every one of these videos here, and the importance of that, right? I see people with 6th house planets, and they definitely have a health-related story, right? That doesn't necessarily mean that their health is always going to be difficult. It means that their awareness is being brought to what they're doing on a day-to-day basis, and if that is of value, if that is working for them. And so with the sun here, it easily illuminates their day-to-day. So this is someone who could very much be either a boss or just someone who is in some sort of manager role or some bright role in their day-to-day. Now, the 6th house, because it does have relations with just health and health routine, it's very important if you have 6th house or Virgo placements to find that right routine and work out what it means to be healthy for you, right? Work out those things, get out the routine, get that vitamin, get that journaling on, do whatever you need to do to consistently make sure that you are living your healthiest life. Because that is really what Virgo and the 6th house are both kind of about, because it's about being able to be of service. And you cannot be of service if you are not at your healthiest. And I think that is why the 6th house gets a lot of bad just energy put around it, because of the fact that it's a lot of the debts that you have to pay off through hard work and through consistency. And it's not necessarily, the most relaxing sort of house or area of the chart necessarily. Now, with the sun here in the 6th house, because once again, it's not necessarily easily seen by the ascendant, it is going to be a little bit more difficult to understand what this house is really asking of the native until we start introducing the sun sign, as well as obviously the aspects and things like that too. Because when we look at the 6th house, although it is kind of hidden from the ascendant, it is still going to be bringing up those themes around, debts, routine, working, the work that you do, the physical day-to-day job that you have, not necessarily your career, right? Because that's not necessarily the exact same thing, but it's the things that you do every single day. And so when we have planets here, it typically brings up a really big focus upon us really ironing out those kinks, understanding what it is that we're doing day to day so we can have that career, so we can relax, right? These are the people that work their butt off for a really long amount of time so that they can inevitably retire, right? This is what the sixth house is about. It's about doing and putting in that work and energy and being the long uphill battle of the consistency, and then doing those 10,000 hours or whatever it may be, and then reaching that goal and knowing what goal you have in mind. I think that's the biggest thing about sixth house and Virgo placements that I've found is they need to have a goal. And so with your sun here in the sixth house, there is still a need for that goal. So I would really recommend you look to see what is going on with your sun sign in that specific house, because it's really important for you to have a day-to-day routine that is encompassing of that sun sign and is complementary to that sun sign, okay? So if you have your sun in the sixth house, and let's say it's in a mercurial sign, right? Like Gemini or Virgo, you're going to want to have a day-to-day that is very, very mercurial, very talkative, very inviting with information, very much something that is just a lot of information, a lot of talking, a lot of conversations, a lot of, maybe your job could be through speaking. I personally have Mercury ruling this house in my own chart, and I literally do speaking and teaching for a living. That's literally what I do as a job, and it is something that is very interesting when you have Mercury ruling that house, because it really wants to just use its mind in a very day-to-day, not necessarily monotonous way. It can be, but it is very much something that is, bringing your awareness to the information that you're inputting every single day, right? What you're learning every single day, what you're kind of teaching every single day, what your mindset is. So if you have your sun in the sixth house, in a mercurial sign, either Gemini or Virgo, I would really recommend you to look at your mental concepts, and how those are really affecting your mental health, and how they're affecting your perspective and your perception on the world around you and just what you're inputting, right? There's a lot of that I would really recommend for sixth house suns and mercurial signs. This is not meant to be diagnostic by any sort of means. I definitely need to let that be known here. This is just kind of something I've seen, where when you have a mercurial sixth house with the sun there, you're going to have a lot of focus around bringing your identity towards those things. So if you have an identity around conversation, communicating, working, analysis, and have that be in your day-to-day, it's going to really benefit you, versus doing other things with that too. And obviously, of course, if we go through sixth house planets, you'll see a day-to-day routine that is really beneficial. When it comes to having a Martian ruled sign here, so we have the sun in Aries or the sun in Scorpio here, this is going to be someone who needs a very physical, active day-to-day, okay? Aries sun and Scorpio sun are very different in the way that they represent themselves. The Aries sun obviously is where the sun exalts, so it is going to be, these are going to definitely be the leaders in their job. They're going to be doing above and beyond. They're going to be doing a lot of things within their career, and within their day-to-day that is almost like very much leading the pack. They're also both with Martian stuff in the sixth house. We can see people that really need a lot of exercise, a lot of physical release, a lot of, physical working out. That's a really big thing when you put Mars here, and I'll get to that when we get to Mars in the sixth house itself. But sun in Aries and sun in Scorpio in the sixth, they both have a need and a desire to consistently work towards their routine and put their energy towards that. The sun in Aries in the sixth, this is definitely like the one that's running the class, the one that's running the fitness class, the one that is running the seminar, those sorts of things, the one that is really teaching from a health lived perspective. Same with Scorpio, but Scorpio had to survive to get there. They had to really put themselves through the intensity. Scorpio in the sixth house, which I can't wait to do Scorpio placements. We're inching close to there, and I am so excited to eventually do those, because Scorpio placements I have so much Scorpio in my own chart, so I have so much resonance with that. But when it comes to putting Scorpio in the sixth house and that sun there, this is someone who, this is where you would see more of a difficulty with health, but through that alchemical process that is shown with Scorpio, you'll see a lot of power in their own ability to heal, right? These are really great healers. When you put, Scorpio in the sixth, or any watery sign in the sixth, Cancer or Pisces, and the sun there, you really want to be a healer, but you have to heal your body first. And this is where we see a lot of toxins needing to be kind of purified for a sixth house sun here in Scorpio. Sixth house, with Aries sun, this is where we'd see a lot more inflammation, right? Getting that kind of cooling down sort of effect. That's what I would recommend for a sixth house sun in either Aries or Scorpio. Like I said, this is not supposed to be diagnostic. It just kind of is coming out that way because it's a sixth house, and this is what it does. So then we have a sun and Venus ruled signs. So either sun and Taurus in the sixth, or sun Libra in the sixth. And these are where we're going to see a little more of the cooling aspect of this stuff. So this is where we see a lot more relational, a lot more value stuff. So we will see with this more of a individual that really wants to have make money the day to day, right? Sun Taurus in the sixth I really enjoy. I think there's a lot to be said on this specific placement, where they really want to have a grounded, secure routine, and they might be really anxious around that. And their money matters are really interesting. Their throat is going to have some sense of importance here when it comes to medical astrology, and I think there is a really big focus around the sun in Taurus in the sixth upon really creating a good financial habits, good consistency with budgeting, and consistency with their financial kind of story. They could have, had to really work hard on their financial health, or they're speaking up of who they are. That's a lot of what the Taurus is about speaking up of what specifically they are valuing and their morals and their ethics. And so this could be someone who could have some like ethical dilemma, both with Venus and Venus in the sixth, as well as, sun in Taurus in the sixth or sun in Libra in the sixth. You could see that too. There's this kind of ethical, moral kind of deep analysis that keeps happening, but it's very personal. And then when we put the sun in Libra in the sixth, this is going to be very opposite than the sun in Aries, obviously. So this is a Venusian sign. This is where the sun is uncomfortable. This is another sign that I would say needs to kind of be lifted up and supported more, an identity that needs to really understand that maybe they're too identified with I don't know why I want to say this, but like the health problems of their father or the bad habits of their father, right? This is where we can see this is also true for Sun Scorpio too, but for different reasons. But Sun in Libra in the sixth, I could see, and Sun Aquarius in the sixth too, I could see this as someone who their father's bad habits in specific are something that they have to break through. They have to really break through and understand and really, kind of come to terms with the difference between how their father was or how whoever their, role model is, they can be different from that. And that's kind of something with the sun in the sixth house in general. But when the sun is in a difficult position, right, with Libra or Aquarius in the sixth house, we're going to see this kind of like needing to overcome something or needing to overcome an identification with whatever authority is, right? That's what the sun wants to be. The sun's the ultimate authority, right, in our universe, meaning that it is the one that the planets revolve around, right? We live in a heliocentric world, so we are centered around the sun. And so when it comes to the sun in the sixth, there's a lot about breaking apart from that process, breaking through that process of what it is that you truly are and who you truly want to be. And the sun in Libra in the sixth definitely needs some more support in that than the other sun signs, just because of just the difficulty of the sun being in Libra. And then we have the sun in the moon sign. So we have the sun in Cancer, the sun in the sun sign within Leo here. I did sun in Leo, sun in Cancer before as well, so feel free to check those out specifically for more depth on that. But the sun in Cancer in the in the sixth, this is going to have this is similar, but in the vein of like a lot of emotional karma that needs to be broken apart. I would say check out and do a lot of emotional purging, right? This is where I would lean this person towards purifying their emotions, letting their emotions run. I think that's something that I can see with like a moon Virgo as well, but moon ruling the sixth, the sun in Cancer in the sixth, I could see that where there's over-identification with the sensitivity and being overly sensitive, needing to understand the value of that. There's a lot of gifts there. With the sun Cancer, there is a lot of gifts when they're able to sit with themselves in that sixth house. And so their day-to-day might be really sensitive. They might, run a restaurant or run a very sensitive business, right? This is where you'll see, once again, counselors, whenever we put a watery sun sign, we tend to lend those people towards more emotional support. In the sixth house, it's no different, but I think it's in Cancer, it does have more of a family therapist through to work through their own sort of things as well. So there's a lot of family karmic healing here. There's definitely a family healer energy for sun Cancer in the sixth for sure. Sun Leo in the sixth. This is like I'm gonna break. This is also kind of like karmic breaker of the family ties and stuff. But this is the person who goes out and just goes completely different from their day-to-day routine of their family. But they also are. This is once again like the sun Aries here. When we put a well-placed sun in the sixth house, we can see a lot of leaders. But I also want to say too, With this stuff as well, there's a lot more layers to this than just specifically the sun sign in that house, right? You want to look at the full complexity of the entirety of the chart to be able to see what else is going on, because this sun could be in Leo and it could be conjunct Saturn in Leo as well, and there could be a lot of difficulty there, right? Or it could be, you know, a difficult sun in Libra, but it's conjunct Jupiter, or it has Jupiter kind of supporting it, you know, in Aquarius or whatever it may be, right? Kind of helping this chart or this individual shine more proudly or more easily or more difficultly, right? Have more struggles with that. So just, I wanted to let that be kind of known. I should have placed this a little bit earlier, but it is really important to look at the aspects as well, but we're not going into those really, or else this video will be very, very long, and it's already kind of long. So, but anywho, yeah, the sun in Leo, it is going to have more of a brighter kind of way about its day to day. This is another leader kind of thing. This is definitely the boss energy, but it's through creative pursuits, through working with children, through kind of sharing their light. This is really leadership energy here, Sun and Leo in the 6th house. I really do like this one in a lot of ways. It definitely has a leadership boss energy. Definitely like that, yeah. If you want more information on the Sun and Leo, watch that video I did last week, but or last season rather. But yeah, and then we have, what else do we have? Oh, then we have the sun in Jupiter-ruled signs. So we have the sun in Sagittarius and in Pisces here in the 6th. So this is interesting. So when we put the sun in either Sag or Pisces here in the 6th house, we're going to see a chart that is going to have kind of like more of a sensitivity to it, more of a difficulty in kind of conceptualizing of itself individually, right? And that's kind of what I was talking about earlier with the Sun Virgo, or the Virgo mutable stuff with, you know, Virgo Gemini and then Sag and Pisces, how like there's a whole disconnect between, or there has to be a disconnect, but there needs to be a reconnection of the objective and subjective, right? The idea that we are all one and we're all connected, and all those interconnectedness and the faith and all those things and all the, you know, the bigger meaning of life, and then the little bitty, you know, day-to-day things that you're doing that feed into that, right? And I think the sun and Jupiter signs in that 6th house can have a little bit of a difficulty with this, because they're really trying to figure out how it is that they really want to, what they believe their day-to-day to be, like what meaning they want to prescribe to their day-to-day. I think that's something that you can see with the sun in a Jupiter-ruled sign, either Sag or Pisces, where they're going to prescribe a lot of meaning to their day, which is great and important. And as long as they're searching for meaning, this is really, really what's going to help them and help them figure out what it is specifically they want to do with their day-to-day. So you'll see a lot of teachers with this. You'll see a lot of law people with this, people that are focused upon law, or even just creative pursuits with, you know, Pisces. And you'll see a lot of people that really crave a lot of, you know, meaning behind what they're doing every day, right? Versus like Saturn with, like, you know, there's a lot of monotony there. When we put Saturn in the 6th house, or a Saturn-ruled sun in the 6th house, rather, there's a lot more monotony that they're kind of just going through the trenches, right? Even Mars can do that too, depending upon the Mars sign there. So, but overall, the sun in Sag or in Pisces there this is like the orator, this is the teacher, this is the one that kind of has more luck in their day-to-day for sure, but is also their biggest issue is seeing their minusculity, that's not a word, but they're smaller parts of themselves. There's this kind of divide here when we put Jupiter in this house or anything. And speaking from someone who has a Jupiter in this sign, it's a lot of like learning how to really condense a lot of really big things. And I think the identity here with the sun in Sag or sun in Pisces, that's trying to condense and connect to a lot of things, but it needs to learn how to kind of bring that back to reality, or bring that into something that is digestible. It's all about digestion too. This definitely rules the digestive system. Virgo and the 6th house rules the digestive system and the ability to kind of move through and allow things to kind of run through their system. So there is a lot of importance on being aware of what it is that you're doing in a day-to-day, right? Doing and feeding, and what you're feeding yourself, what you're eating yourself. This is why the the Taurus 6th house is really interesting, because when we talk about like what they're feeding themselves, all sorts of things, and their value and their money and stuff is really important here. Anywho, one more to do, which is the Saturn-ruled signs. So we have, you know, sun in Capricorn or sun in Aquarius here. Sun in Aquarius, I had said a little bit earlier, kind of like Sun and Libra, there is this like need to break past the barriers that were put upon them from whatever society they want to believe in, whatever they believe in, whatever they believe themselves to be. It needs to be broken apart, conceptualized, compartmentalized, and broken through, right? There's a lot of that. And I think the Sun in the 6th is a lot about breaking through the identity. And I think with Sun in Sag or Pisces, it can definitely do that, but it kind of does that in a very lost, like overly expressive, overly connected way, and has its own difficulties in that other sun signs in the 6th house may not struggle with in the same vein, right? But Sun and Saturn ruled signs, so Capricorn, Aquarius, you will see, like I said, this is once again boss leadership energy, more so with Capricorn than Aquarius here, because of the natural, like, power that both the sun does not have, I guess, in Aquarius, or the natural, difficulty the sun has to shine in Aquarius, or discomfort rather, versus the sun in Capricorn that just needs time and patience and kind of arduous kind of consistency. Check their bones out for sure, and then circulation for the Aquarius sun. There's definitely an importance upon that and learning those things. So lean into those sorts of, perspectives in that regard too. Now, Sun in Aquarius in the 6th, this is definitely like the social leader. Sun in Capricorn in the 6th is more social climber, which is interesting because, like, not in a bad way, but in a way that, like, it wants to go towards something. And I think Capricorn 6th house has a little bit more understanding of the goals they want to put in mind. Because like I had said earlier, the 6th house in Virgo really kind of focuses upon looking towards a goal. And I think when it comes to Saturn ruled signs in this house, they have a goal and they're really working towards it. Maybe they don't know a goal exactly, but as they age, they kind of figure that out, and the kind of foundation makes more sense to them of who they are. And the sun here really wants them to figure out how to be patient with themselves with the sun in a Saturn ruled sign. But overall, the sun in the 6th house is really about really understanding a lot about how your identity fits into the broader whole, and how your identity also fits within any environment and any sort of person you're interacting with, and how you can compartmentalize of yourself, or how you can understand what role you're here to fill. And I think as we go through, especially, the rest of this series here with Virgo, we're definitely really going to understand more of what it is that those 6th house planets are really kind of speaking on, that is really important to pay back. And when it comes to the sun in the 6th, it's really just about shining up and showing up and shining and showing who you are to the world, and being proud of who that is, and needing to unbox and unlearn and, relearn, or be proud, or, be able to talk about, or just love yourself. And there's a lot of that. It's about loving yourself. And I think that's true for so many different signs, but I think the Virgo and 6th house placements need to be reminded of that, and the importance of just loving themselves and loving themselves every day, day to day, right? Learning that every day is not going to be amazing and powerful, and they're not going to be on top of the world. But there is kind of this, inevitability that you will figure out your place and what you're here to do. And the more you shine and show up, and the more you just simply exist and show your leadership quality, because sun in the 6th house, no matter what the sun sign is really necessarily, even if it is a difficult sun sign, Libra or Aquarius, there is a natural leadership ability you have in your day-to-day to shine and show up and expose things that need to be improved upon. And that is so crucial and so important in our world to help people understand how to, move forward in their life, or, progress and things like that. And I think there's so much beauty in the sun in the 6th house and sun in Virgo. And I'm so excited to be doing this series. I think Virgo placements are so powerful and so potent. Like I said, I have one of them, and it's going to be really fun when I do that video here in a couple of days. And I think there is so much power you guys have. You just need to remember that it's not always monotonous. It's not always difficult. You have to just realize that there's a goal you're going towards, and it might feel difficult. It might feel really hard and feel like there's a lot of work and it's never ending, and you have to keep everything under control all the time. And there is important, like, control is important, but there is also a sense of fun and faith that needs to be brought into this as well. And a sense of support from others too, with that Libra and that 7th house kind of being the next sign in this order here. So, and also reliance on yourself, and knowing how to rely on yourself and how to rely on others. There's kind of that divide between the 6th and Virgo that need to kind of really learn that balancing act, right? And then we'll see that once we get into Libra, of course. So yeah, but thank you. I appreciate you guys. there's so much to be said about this. I'm so excited to be doing this Virgo and 6th house series here. It's going to be so much fun. Can't wait. The anxiety that's already induced from this series is totally fine. I appreciate you guys. And of course, if you guys are interested in anything with me, any readings or things like that, my videos and my links are down below. And of course, this playlist is down below too. So if you have any other Virgo placements or any Libra placements or anything coming up, feel free to check that out down below as well. I'm really excited to be doing this. I love this. I love being able to do this for a living. This is what I love to do. I love to speak on these things and just share my knowledge. Honestly, I really, really do. So thank you so much for being here. And I'll see you guys next time with, the Virgo videos or whatever it may be that you may follow upon on my channel. So thank you so much once again. Have a great day. Love you guys.